You're listening to Calendar of Stolen Days on Soul Sound. Chapter 1. No Unfiled Dates. The affidavit hit Celia's desk hard enough to jump her pen. She didn't flinch. She'd learned not to flinch 3 years ago, when she'd still believed this office helped people. Now she knew better. The missing date office didn't solve disappearances. It filed them. The paper felt wrong before anyone touched it. Too dense, like it resisted being handled.
I lost it. I lost a date.
The man standing across from her had dockworker's hands. Dockworker's desperation, salt-stained collar, fingers that wouldn't stop moving, like he was trying to grab something that wasn't there anymore. Name the date.
September 14th. I know I worked that day. I know it. But I can't remember living it. I remember planning to. I remember waking up that morning. And then nothing. Just older.
He looked 45. His file said 32. The woman beside him stepped closer. Advocate pin on her lapel. Calm eyes that had seen too much.
He's been dockside for 18 years. Never filed a claim before. Never missed a shift he couldn't explain.
Celia picked up the affidavit. The paper did feel wrong. Heavy in a way that had nothing to do with weight. She'd handled enough of these to know the difference between a lie and something worse. This was worse.
3 concrete actions. What you did on that date. Start.
I would have hauled the crates. Then I would have... He stopped, swallowed hard. The sound was audible in the fluorescent hush. It's not there. It's not in me.
Celia had seen this before. The gap where a day should live. The body that aged through hours it never spent. But not like this. Not this clean. Not this complete.
He's not lying.
The affidavit's routing stamp looked slightly washed out at the edges, like it wanted to erase its own admission. Celia reached for her intake manual. Standard procedure, standard questions, standard way of making sure the people who needed help never got it.
The date, September 14th. You can name it, but you can't live it.
Yes.
Within 24 hours, it gets recorded, anchored, made real in the system, or it rots inside you. So talk.
The ink on the affidavit seemed to darken as she spoke, like it was listening. Orin tried again. His jaw worked. His eyes went distant, searching for something that wasn't there anymore.
I would have walked to the docks. I always walk. Then I would have... He stopped. Blinked. His face went gray. Sweat broke across his forehead. His joints made a sound like dry wood settling. Like he was aging through a day he never got to spend.
The doorway behind them shifted. Celia didn't look up. She didn't need to. She felt him enter. The way you feel a temperature drop. The way you feel someone who knows exactly how much space they occupy. Lucan Vey didn't announce himself. He simply stepped into the office's oxygen and made it his. The fluorescent lights seemed to dim slightly in his presence. Or maybe that was just Celia's focus narrowing to the threat. He wore Consortium-grade, the color of vaults and records and things that got filed away forever. His hands were still at his sides, but they looked like hands that had handled too many endings.
I'll take that.
He reached for the affidavit. Celia moved her hand 2 inches. Not enough to stop him, enough to make him work for it.
Public intake. Public protocol. You have a warrant for interference?
Lucan's finger rested on the routing stamp. For a fraction of a second, the ink lightened. Then it settled back darker and heavier than before. He turned his head toward her, not his body, just his head. The movement was precise, controlled. The kind of control that came from practicing restraint until it became instinct.
State the date.
September 14th.
Lucan repeated it. The words rolled off his tongue with unsettling care, like he was tasting them, like he was memorizing the shape of a future he planned to take.
September 14th.
He turned back to Celia. His eyes were the color of old ink, the kind that didn't fade.
This is not a surge claim. This is a personal misfile.
The stamp's edges sharpened under his touch. The paper seemed to lean toward him, like it wanted to belong to him. Celia felt her jaw tighten. She'd seen this redirect before. Make it procedural, make it small, make it disappear into the machine before anyone could prove it mattered. She wasn't going to let it disappear.
Why is his routing stamp Consortium-grade ink?
She didn't look away. She wanted him to know she saw it. The ink that shouldn't be on a dockworker's affidavit. The stamp that carried vault authority into a public office. Lucan's inhale was sharp. Just a fraction. Just enough to tell her she'd hit something real.
That's not your jurisdiction.
On the word consortium, the ink seemed to thicken, like the paper resented being named. The corridor shifted behind them. Managerial footsteps. The sound of authority arriving to shut down questions.
That's enough. This claim is closed.
Director Lena Hart didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She had the kind of authority that came from knowing exactly which forms to file to make problems disappear. Celia's hand moved. Fast, not leisurely. She copied the routing codes from the affidavit. Hand copy, not digital, not traceable. She slid the note into a sealed audit folder before Lena could see. The folder clicked shut with a sound like a ward sealing.
Miss Wynn, the file.
Archived per surge protocol.
She didn't thank Lucan. She didn't acknowledge Lena. She just walked away with leverage in her pocket and a target on her back. Behind her, she felt Lucan's eyes, watching, calculating, seeing her as a threat with teeth. Good. Let him see. Celia relocated the copied routing codes into a sealed audit folder. Her fingers moved with efficiency. The efficiency of someone who'd learned that paperwork was the only weapon that couldn't be disarmed. The records aisle narrowed ahead of her, shelves of filing cabinets stretching into dim fluorescence. Each drawer held disappearances. Each label held a life reduced to routing codes and expiration dates. She was 3 steps into the aisle when he stepped out of the shadows. Lucan blocks filing. They trade jurisdiction like blades, 2 predators circling in paper cage. He demonstrates authority through paper weight. Lucan didn't touch her. He didn't need to. He simply occupied the space between her and the exit. Suddenly, the aisle felt smaller. The air felt colder on his side, like the shelves themselves deferred.
Consortium jurisdiction. This file is not yours.
Public harm. Surge protocol.
They stood there, 2 predators circling in a cage made of paper.
You're filing claims that don't exist.
I'm filing claims your people don't want found.
Lucan reached out. Not for her, for the folder in her hands. His fingers brushed the inked stamp on the original file she'd copied from. The folder went heavy. Not metaphorically, physically. The weight of ownership made manifest. The paper wanted to belong to him. The stamp briefly gleamed, then dulled. Celia jerked it back.
If you want my future, ask for it like a human. Don't take it like a law.
The words hung between them. Celia hadn't planned to say them. They just formed. The kind of truth that arrived before you could censor it. Lucan's expression didn't change, but something in the air did. The file resisted him for a half-second, as if her refusal had weight too. Footsteps behind them, heavy, tactical.
Ma'am, this aisle is restricted.
Cade Rowan, field auditor. The office's muscle when paperwork wasn't enough. He positioned himself to herd her out, polite on the surface, bodies and badges underneath. Celia didn't move. She kept her eyes on Lucan.
Sign a temporary chain of custody note. Date it. Route it. If it disappears, so do you.
Lucan's jaw tightened. She saw it. The crack in the control.
You don't understand what you're pulling.
He paused. 1 heartbeat. 2.
Fine.
The pen scratched against paper. The sound was loud in the hush, like a seal being set, like a contract being born. Celia watched him sign, watched the ink settle into the page with a faint heaviness, as if the paper accepted his obligation. Cade watched both of them, assessing, measuring threat. Celia took the signed note without thanking him, turned, walked away. Behind her she felt Lucan's fury, and something else, something that felt almost like respect. She'd made it halfway down the first flight when he appeared. Lucan didn't grab her. He didn't block her path with his body. He simply stood in the stairwell's dim light, holding the original file. He made the space feel smaller. His presence occupied the exit route without touching her, just shy of intimidation by contact, exactly on the line of intimidation by existence. The file in his hand seemed denser here, like the concrete wanted to remember what the office forgot.
Someone is feeding without anchoring records.
Celia stopped, 1 hand on the railing, 1 foot on the step below.
Then it's theft. Prosecutable theft. Give me proof or get out of my way.
Lucan's eyes held hers. Old ink. Old hunger. Old shame.
I can't remember yesterday.
The sentence landed wrong in Celia's chest. It sounded human. It sounded like a confession that cost him to speak. The stairwell felt slightly off-tempo, like time was missing a beat, like the building itself was listening to something it couldn't quite hear. Celia's fingers tightened on the railing. She didn't soften. She didn't step closer, but she didn't walk away either.
Rules. Out loud. Consent. Spoken date. Spoken plan. My right to stop. No retaliation if I stop.
Lucan watched her. Calculating. The kind of calculation that came from being hunted for so long, you'd forgotten how to be honest.
If you file what you copied, the consortium erases your future.
He paused, shifted. The controlled pivot.
If you can give me clean, consensual days, I can stay stable enough to return stolen days and burn the ledgerless channel.
The air pressure shifted, like the building was listening, like the concrete was holding its breath.
Agreed.
Agreed.
They stood there, two enemies who'd just made a contract in a stairwell, the kind of contract that could save them both or destroy them. Lucan reached into his coat. His movements were precise, controlled, the kind of control that came from knowing exactly how much you had to lose. He slid a single page toward her, a marriage contract template, blank except for her name. The page landed heavy, like it already belonged to a vault, like it was already waiting to be filled. Lucan's voice was low, steady, stripped of all the performance and politics and velvet threats.
Marry me, Celia Wynn, and I'll give the days back.
Celia looked at the contract, at the man who held her future in one hand and his own decay in the other. She had leverage. She had a target. She had an offer that could ruin her. The stairwell held its breath. Download Soul Sound on App Store to listen to the full calendar of